What's up guys, and welcome to another video for Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, and this one is covering the Crown Tundra DLC and the best way on how to mark hunt the Galarian bird trio of Articuno, Zapdos and Moltres. Now these are the only legendaries you can get marks on. The others like the Regis and so on you can't because they're in specific spots, so it's quite a nice little hunt to do since they're the only ones you can get marks on. Firstly, what is a mark? You may not know. They were introduced in Sword and Shield, and they're sort of like ribbons. They sort of appear on the summary screen, and like ribbons in Generation 8, you can also attach them to give your Pokemon a title, depending on what the mark is. But the difference to ribbons is you can't get them, you can't put them on a Pokemon. They have to be generated with the mark, and they can only have one mark at a time, or just one mark overall. So it's done on generation in the wild. And there's a few different sets of marks. You've got time-based marks, which are obviously based on time of day, weather-based marks, which is based on the weather they are caught in, uncommon marks, which is a sort of general uncommon mark, personality marks, which are rarer sort of ones that have sort of special quirks to them, not necessarily just nice names I suppose, and then finally rare marks, which are the rarest of all marks, and they're just rare generally. So now we hopefully have an idea of what marks are. What's the best way to hunt them for the Galarian bird trio? Because obviously they're one-time capture, and to know the best way to hunt them, you have to know how their stats are rolled, and obviously the best way to work around that. So in previous generations, like Generation 4, when you had roaming legendaries like Cresselia, Mesprit, and so on, they were generated at one time. So when you actually interacted with Cresselia and it then disappeared, that's when those stats were generated. So to shiny hunt them, for example, you had to do that and then go and find it in the wild. These birds are slightly different in that their stats reroll every time you actually leave the area and come back to it. So it's not a one-time thing. So it's not like you've got to sort of soft reset from the initial cutscene and then go and find the bird. You can basically do the cutscene and then go and hunt them for marks at a later date. Of course, they're not shiny, or they can't be shiny, they're shiny locked, so marks are sort of the next best thing. So, in terms of what we'll need to best and most sort of accurately hunt them, we're going to need the mark charm. Obviously this is optional, but it's preferred. It increases the odds of getting a mark, and it's just going to generally make you do it quicker, I suppose. You also need a Master Ball, again optional, but that makes stuff very, very quick because of course the birds are hard to catch, and the Master Ball will allow us to quickly catch them, and then we can go on and catch it in a nicer ball later on. So of course you want some nice balls depending on which ball you want to catch each bird in. And then finally, obviously, something like False Swipe, Spore, to actually aid you in catching them once you do get to the bird and find the mark. The way we can do it is actually, we don't need to worry about it killing itself necessarily. We can save at a certain point, and we can always then return to that point if we fail the capture. Before we move on to the how-to exactly, I'm just going to put up the odds for marks in general and how common each type of mark is and what effect the mark charm has. So you can see here there are 5 categories of marks. Basically you've got time marks, weather marks, uncommon marks, personality marks, and then the rare mark, and you can see each of the odds there. So weather, time and uncommon are all the most common. They are 1 out of 50, or about a 2% chance without the charm, and then triple that with the charm. Personality are then twice as rare, 1 in 100, and then finally the rare mark is 10 times rarer than that, so it's very rare indeed. And of course if we just switch to a percentage view just to make it simpler, you can see here it's about 2% without the charm, and then 6% with the charm for each of those. And of course if we then to add them all up, so overall without the charm you've got a 7.1% chance of each Pokemon having a mark, and with the charm you've got 21.3% chance. This is just based on the birds. Different Pokemon would have different variations. For example, there's also a fishing mark, which is quite common for Pokemon you fish, and of course we can't fish the birds, so I've not included this here. And of course sometimes weather won't be applicable to other Pokemon in other areas, so you won't be able to get weather marks and so on. But for the birds, this is the sort of chance we're looking at, and thus why it's beneficial to have the mark. It's going to make your hunt probably about 3 times faster. Of course it's all odds based. You could get a mark first time without the charm, but of course you may not. So that's the odds, and that's everything there. So in terms of hunting the birds, I'm going to sort of give you the general theory, and then we'll go through each bird individually for some tips and tricks on the best way to actually hunt that one in particular, because they all have different nuances in how they roam around. So, as I mentioned, the stats roll when you change area. So, rather than it being a one-time set, they basically re-roll every time you enter the area where they are. And this is also just because of how they've implemented this in the game. There's no sort of global, this is the Articuno. It's obviously when you enter the area, oh, Articuno is here, I need to generate Articuno's stats. And that is the point at which marks are also generated. So initially I had to test whether marks generated with the Pokemon or whether they were generated on catch, because of course they're time based and weather based, so you'd think maybe it would be based on the catch, but no, it's based on the generation. So you have to make sure, you know, if you want a time mark that's in the evening, make sure you're always hunting in the evening. Don't sort of, you know, have it generate in lunchtime and then wait 6 hours to actually hunt it, and so on and so forth. So it's done on generation. So as I say, whenever you enter the area, it then regenerates all the stats. So what you want to do, generally, as a method, is step 1, you fly to the area that the bird is in, whether that's Isle of Armor, Wild Area, or Crown Tundra. Obviously find the bird. Before you encounter it, save. This obviously then gives you a point to come back to, and when you reload the save, the stats and so on, including the mark, will be the same as before the save. So, you know, you can keep loading it up again without having to worry about the stats re-rolling. So what you then want to do after you've saved is encounter the bird and Master Ball it. Of course, you don't have to use a Master Ball. You could use a Repeat Ball if you've got it in your decks, or a Dusk Ball if it's nighttime, and so on and so forth. Just a quick way to catch it without having to worry about getting it in that Beast Ball, for example. When you've caught it, you'll have some dialogue, skip that, and so on, and then you can open up and check on the summary screen whether it's got a mark or not. If it's got a mark, brilliant. Okay, so this bird, the stats currently rolled, have the mark. Of course, if it's not a mark you want, you might want to reset anyway. But if it is just you want any mark, that means what you can then do is open the save up again, load the save, encounter the bird, and then try and catch in that nice ball that you want. If, of course, you fail that catch, load the save again and try again. So as long as you then don't leave the area, it will always have those same stats and the mark. If it doesn't have the mark, what you then need to do is reload the save and fly away, fly back to where you started, and that will cause a reroll of the stats. And then you just need to go again, go back to step 2 or step 1, and encounter that bird, save, check for the mark. If no mark, fly away. You can also encounter it and run away from it. That's basically the same as running away, but of course flying just makes you not have to do the battle. So that's the general theory behind it. So now if we have a look at each bird individually, we can see how that works in terms of chasing them down. Okay, so the first bird we're going to look at is Articuno, since it is the first in the trio. So this is found in the Crown Tundra, and it can be quite annoying. This is probably possibly the most annoying in terms of time and its expenditure, possibly. So what I do generally to find this bird is I go to the snow slide slope over here by the Watt Trader, and sometimes it will spawn right above our head here, but it's not done that right now. So what I'm going to do is fly back. Let's go back to Freezington, and then we'll come back again to the snow slide slope. So this tends to be the easiest place to actually see Articuno, whereas the other sort of fly spots tend to be a little harder to spot him. Again, he's not appeared here, and he's not around, so we will try and maybe go somewhere else. Sometimes you need to fly to another location to sort of reset it again, so we'll see it. But again, so we're at the Dino Treatment now. He's not here anywhere, can't see him at all. He tends to be up in the snowy area rather than down by the tree, so that's kind of annoying since the tree is the most open area. But you can see here he's now spawned, so he's going to fly off over here, and there's nothing we can do to get him to sort of look at us right now. So we're going to have to sort of follow him up this slope here. He's going to keep on flying, and we're just going to head straight up. We don't have to wait for him or anything. We can just go head away from him, and it's just further up here will be a spot he ends up stopping at, and obviously that's where we'll encounter him too. So just keep on going, little by little, and then just past this grass over here. Avoid all the Beldum. Over here is where he'll stop, so you can see he flies over here, and he's going to end up stopping just here. So what we'll do is we'll get here and wait for him to do his little double team deal. Okay, he's going to do that, and I'm going to save here. So this is just in case I get the double team wrong, so I don't have to go and do that whole cycle up again or chase around him. And wait for him to stop. So I think it will be on the left side. It will be this guy here. I think it is indeed. So once I've done that, I'm going to save again, just so I don't have to do that little mini game over and over, or at least just a one time more. And he'll then just dive onto us like so, and we can have our battle with Articuno. So once we go there, so as I said, we're now going to just go straight up and Master Ball it. So go. Master Ball does actually kind of fit him because he's purple, but definitely want more licensed looking ball. But once this is caught, we can then, as I say, jump in and check the mark, and then we can go from there. So it'll quit us out of here. We have to go through this little bit of dialogue that just goes around and says, "Yep, well done on catching Articuno." Yep, as we say, and Peony's gonna give us a little call. So we'll just speed through this. Yep. And once we see the Wycombe symbol appear, we can then jump into the Pokemon menu and check our box here. So if we have a look here and see, he's not got a mark. So what we do in this case is we're going to reset the game, and we're going to open up that last save that we made, and we're just going to fly away. Just fly away straight away, and that's that. And that will get us a new, fresh reroll of Articuno stats. And we'll just go from there. So Articuno, as I say, tends to be the most time intensive, I suppose, because you have to do that whole cycle and then wait for its minigame. Zapdos can be similarly time intensive just because it's a lot more demanding on what you have to do, but Articuno just has a general waiting, and unfortunately I saved too close, so he's going to dive on us straight away, so I don't actually get a chance to fly away, which is fine. What we just need to do in this point is we need to just run away from him, and as I say, that is effectively the same as flying away because it resets his stats. But the problem here is that we can't really just re-encounter him straight away. We still have to do a fly, so we may as well just, if you can, fly away straight away. So, and fly back down to the slow slide slope, and he appears here again, and we can just follow him up again and keep on doing that until we get that mark. So that's Articuno. So Zapdos is next on our list, and this resides in the original wild area. So if we jump in here, we're going to fly just down to in front of Motorstoke. Tends to be the best place to find him from, and we should be able to see him as soon as we come in, probably, just about, once we get there. And can't see him anywhere. And of course it's Blizzard, which is the hardest one to actually be able to see Pokemon in. So that is a bit of a pain. I can just about see him in the distance there, you can see. So he's going to run away very quickly from us, so we have to keep on chasing him, and he will eventually slow down. So, as I say, this is the most probably annoying, I suppose. Not sorry, time intensive, because you can get him fairly quickly, but it's annoying just simply for the fact that there's a lot of wild Pokemon you can also run into. You can try and take shortcuts by going through the grass, but then you're liable to run into a wild Pokemon and just take longer anyway. So you can see he's gone directly through this patch of grass, which is quite annoying. But he will eventually slow down, so you should be able to catch up with him at that point. It's also the one you can't really reliably save on as easily, simply because of the fact that when you reload the save, he can dash off straight away, and of course stop you from re-encountering him directly after. So it does take a bit of work, but most of the time you're fine. So I'm taking the wrong path around here. Go through the grass anyway. Where is he? He's here, and he's gone back again. Ugh. So it can be quite annoying, this one. So I'm going to save here, so I'm very much close enough to him. I might not get him straight away, but hopefully, as long as you save at some point, obviously that locks the stats in, so you don't have to worry about losing the mark. And I think we got him there. Yes, we did. There he is. So similarly, we can just throw our Master Ball out at him. Bum, ba, bum. Toss him out. And we can then check for a mark or not. So Zapdos is probably the one that strikes some people, if you look at the marks that are available, as having one that fits it, and that is the Thunder mark, which is obviously got on for catching him in a thunderstorm, and that gives him the title Zapdos the Thunderstruck, which, given he's originally electric type, and he looks still pretty electric-y, I suppose is the term. Does fit him quite well. So to hunt those guaranteed weather marks, to train out, because obviously I've just caught him in a sandstorm, so he's not going to have that mark now, and he was not generated, it was generated in a blizzard originally, so he may have a blizzard mark, for example. And there are certain days of the year where there are guaranteed weather cycles, so you can do those to guarantee that mark. So no mark here again, so I'm going to restart, and of course what we do then is just fly straight off, go back to the original spot by Motorstoke, and then we go again, just chase them down once more. So yes, so there are certain days, if you check Cerebi for example, I have a list of what days of the year each area has guaranteed weather. So for example, the 1st of January will have guaranteed probably snow, I would say, for the wild area. whereas that will be maybe the 15th of January for Isle of Armor, and so on and so forth. So just check on Cerebi and you can basically set your switch to that date, and then all of the weather will be the same in that area, so you don't have to worry about missing out on that mark. You can see I'm just close to Zapdos here. He is going to run away, but we should be able to, we could encounter him again if we wanted to. Sometimes you can miss him, and it's just a case of catching him again. So what we would do is fly back here, and then generally he disappear close, close hopefully, to this area. If not, yeah, there he is again over there. It's just a case of this circling around this lake mostly for Zapdos. So that's that. So finally, our last Pokemon to hunt down is Moltres, and this guy is located on the Isle of Armor, and this is the easiest one. So where we want to fight on the Isle of Armor is the Fields of Honor, so the original space that we actually, the train station we end up coming in on, or the taxi station really, not train station. And you can see Moltres spawns right there. Now we can't catch him where he is, and there's no point following him over the water. We can intercept him later on because he has a sort of very obvious and very repeatable little pattern he flies in. So he'll fly over the water there, and what we will do is we'll come up here next to the dojo, and we'll just circle around here, and you can see he's just flying up to join us now, and we can stand right here, and he'll just come up and say hello. So I'll save here after we get the exclamation mark, and that'll then allow us to again restart and get the encounter again if he does turn out to have a mark. And there we go, just about. It does take a little time, but at least it's not a case of flying around anywhere. So then we can just again, as we've done before, straight away hit him up with a Master Ball and get him there. So yeah, Moltres is probably the easiest of the three. So if you want to hunt just one, I'd suggest Moltres, since you can just cycle up to the dojo and wait for him there. There's no chasing him around the wild area or trying to choose the right clone. It's just a case of waiting for him, so it's quite easy. So again, Moltres is caught. See, that's probably the quickest out of all of them. It goes to a box, and we can then, once we get through this dialogue again, try and check if he's got a mark for us. So there we go, into the box, and we can see no mark. So again, we reset, open up will be just before Moltres encountered us, and we can just fly straight back to the meetup spot, or not meetup spot, but the train station, the taxi station, etc. And again, he should, generally it's pretty reliable that he ends up in the same place, and you can go and intercept him at the dojo. If he doesn't, I find that generally flying somewhere else and then flying back tends to fix that. It's fairly you can generally guess it, and it's not too much work. So we'll see here. So again, he'll be there, just about to encounter us. We'll fly away, which is just easier than going into the battle. And you should be able to see, again, so he spawned over there on the island that time, so we should still be able to reach him in time. If you don't quite get to, be quick enough by getting him up there on the ridge, you can also just wait in front of the dojo, sort of down here, and he flies over down past this area, and he'll encounter you there. But generally, it's easy enough to catch him up here, and we'll get the exclamation mark, and we can try for a mark there. So that's how to mark hunt the free birds, guys. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. If you get some marked birds, do let me know, because they are quite cool. And since they're the only legendaries you can get marks on, it's probably worth it, just as a little extra challenge. Of course, you can also do this on alternate saves by progressing far enough. But of course, without the mark charm, it tends to be a little bit harder. But yeah, so that's that, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the future. Thank you very much. Cheers all, bye.